Hey everyone, Pierluigi here, and in this course you're going to learn how to create these two UI designs in Figma. Now this course is perfect if you already have some really basic and preliminary understanding of how Figma works, as it's going to give you a hands-on approach and a real-life project to work on so that you can consolidate your Figma knowledge and learn extra workflows and techniques used by a designer with over 8 years of experience. And now, without further ado, let's get started in the course. Now, in order to use Figma, you have to go on figma.com, as you can see on the top left, and we are going to be redirected to this landing page. And you can select either try Figma for free, or you can click on the sign up button on the top right. And you're going to have the option to sign up with either Google or email and password. Now, both of them are totally fine, so feel free to choose the one you're more comfortable with. And after that, you're going to be redirected to the main Figma dashboard, which is going to be where we're going to continue on with the next video. Main Figma dashboard. So as you can see, the first thing which you're going to be able to view is the recently viewed files. Now, once you add a few files, you're going to see them all here, and you're eventually going to be able to scroll through the files, since once you have many of them, you're going to be able to view them all in this area. Now, a cool feature is that you can also see the files as a list view. So as you can see, you can also browse through the last viewed, and you can basically change the way that you see the files. Now you can also import a Figma file which has the extension .fig directly from here, or you can create a new file by simply clicking on the plus. Now there's some other options and things to consider in this dashboard. The first one being is the search feature. So if you want to search for a specific file, you can do it directly directly here. So you can simply start typing, and the results are going to appear automatically based on what you typed. Now, another interesting feature is the notification bell, and this is going to be very important, especially when you're working with clients and clients are going to leave comments into the Figma files, because this notification bell is going to enable you to see things like when clients noted comments, reply to comments, or shared files with you, and you can accept or decline the new files which you receive. And there's a whole sort of options which are going to be very, very useful, and I almost check it daily, so it's definitely something to keep in mind. Now we also have the plugins, which is going to be a topic for an entire video, because plugins are amazing and enables us to create to streamline our workflows in all sorts of ways, but we're going to focus on them in a moment. And we also have the drafts. So if you created a draft, you're probably going to see it over here. Now we're also going to discuss themes, but just to give you an overview, basically themes allow you to work with to create different set of themes inside your main Figma dashboard. So even if you're working with multiple teams, multiple clients, you're going to be able to manage the projects very easily and very efficiently directly from this panel over here. Now there's also an upgrade option which enables you to basically collaborate with more teammates, and we're also going to explore that later on. Now also another thing which is important to consider is that we have the help and resources available over here. So if you need any things like the help center, the community forum, video tutorials, reset the onboarding, and also some notes and legal summary, you can basically access all of these items directly from here, so this can be quite handy. Now this is pretty much it for the overview. In the next video we're going to jump into a file and start learning how to work with design files in Figma. Alright, now we're in Figma and we're ready to get started.
The very first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to double click on the top and we're going to rename this to iOS design in order to give it a different title. And we're also going to double click on the page. We're also going to write iOS design. And let's use also an emoji in order to access some more playful style on this. So let's go and let's create our very first frame, which is going to be a phone and specifically an iPhone 11 Pro Max frame. However, feel free to use any other iPhone frames which are similar to this one. Now we're going to double click on the layer name of the frame and we're going to rename it to 1. So we're now ready to get started, and but just before we do that, I want to change the background color in order to make it a little bit less heavy. So I'm going to click over here. I'm going to select a lighter tint, which is leaning towards the blue. Now let's go ahead and let's click on this T icon in order to create the first headline, which is going to be overview of situation. And we're going to use a free Google web font, which you can find on the Google website, which is Lato. So I'm going to leave the link in one of the pages. Simply click on download family and then select all of the fonts and double click on them, and you're going to have Lato for free. And you're going to find the link in this page right here under the assets panel, and simply click on it and you're going to be redirected to that very page. And now we're actually going to write here Lato and click enter. And as you can see, now the font has changed to Lato. Now let's make this smaller, and the way that we're gonna do it is we're going to type in over here a number which can be 14, and let's make this heavy, and we're going to duplicate this by using Command C and Command V. And in order to make this really easy for all these future elements, in order to make it easier, we're going to add the keyboard here so that you're going to see each and every keyboard shortcut that we're gonna use. Now let's make this headline bigger, and this is where we're actually going to add the amount that we have. So let's say 178, comma 93, and then we're going to write USD. All right, so far so good. Now it's time to actually change the color of this font right here. So we're going to make it blue, and we're going to make it somewhere around these lines. So it's going to be a gray, but it's not going to be a full dark black version. And let's probably try and make it a little bit lighter. So we're going to go one step further, and we're going to make it bold. All right. Now let's click on this again, and we're going to use Command C and Command V in order to copy and paste this element. Let's use let's use some other values right here. We're going to essentially create a graph in just a moment. Just before doing that, let's make this smaller. Now let's have some fun with the graph, which we're going to create by using this vector tool. And let's just get started. Let's create this graph based on some values that we're going to pretty much create based on essentially some elements that we want. So there isn't really like a right or wrong way to create a graph in Figma, but it really depends on the project and what you want to convey. So we're going to try and make a trend which is in an upward spiral, and then once we're done with it, we're going to click on Esc, and we're going to click on this second icon on the left, and essentially we can see that now we have our graph. Now let's make this blue, and going to make it not 2 pixels but 1.5 pixels. And let's go ahead. But one thing that I'm noticing is that this graph is a little bit leaning too much towards the right. So we're going to slightly correct it by double clicking on this element. We're going to bring it over here. So let's go ahead over here. Let's make these points also leaning towards the left. So what we're gonna do next is we're going to double click also on this one, bring it down just a little bit, and here we go from a high level. Now one thing that we definitely want is we want to have some sort of a value which we can essentially create the frame around. So we're going to select the first one, and we're going to select the layout grid and then right on columns. And we're going to use just 2 columns and add some extra margin in order to really create some difference in the borders. So let's go ahead over here and let's create these in a slightly different way. Let's change the color so that it's not going to be like fully insides. So that's going to be useful. So let's go ahead and add the lower value, which is going to be just 362, then 02. And let's go ahead and create the bottom values, which are going to be the dates. So first one's going to be 1 hour. Then we're going to have a few other ones, which are going to be 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, and then all. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select this all right here, and before doing the next stage, we're going to center it. We're going to increase the size just 1 bit, and let's use the horizontal spacing distribution. So as you can see, we have this nice distribution in the spacing, and now we're ready to go ahead and create the other elements. So I'm going to click and copy and paste this element. We're going to write over here euro, and we're going to add the euro value, which we're going to have over here. So let's duplicate it once again by using Shift plus the Option key. We're going to write 0.00 euros. Let's bring it up here. Let's make it 1 step smaller. All right, so far so good. And now let's make this text just a little bit bigger. And let's make this black. Let's go ahead and we're going to leverage Nucleo Icons, which is an amazing icon organizer, which you can find on their official website, which is nucleoapp.com. Again, you're going to find it under the assets panel, but essentially simply click on download free app and you're going to have Nucleo Icons. Now we're going to leverage Google Material Icons in this occasion. So let's write here, for example, euro. As you can see, we have the euro sign, and we're also going to have to find some other ones. So let's use, for example, dollar. Okay, there aren't, and the reason being is that the Google Material Icons do not have a lot of icons specifically when it comes to the currency at this stage, at least. So what we're gonna do is we're going to leverage the Nucleo Icons directly in order to find these values. So I'm going to write over here also Bitcoin, and let's find some element which can be the Bitcoin. So this one right here could actually do the work. Let's write also Ethereum. Let's find and let's see if there is something around those lines. Okay, there there really isn't, but that's totally fine. We're going to leverage some other icons directly from the font, as we're going to see in just a moment. So for the time being, the only thing that we're gonna do really is we're going to add a oval shape right here, and let's bring it all the way down. And what we're gonna do next is we're going to use the same blue color as the vector, and I'm going to make it 10%. So we're also going to select this euro sign. We're going to make it a full blue, just like the actual graph. Let's bring it over here, and let's make the euro sign a little bit more on the right. And let's go ahead, let's group this, and let's make this smaller. All right, so far so good. Now let's add a line just beneath this section right here, and let's use the same color as we have on the top. So let's go ahead and let's make this 50% opacity. Let's bring this one up. We're going to duplicate it just a few times so that we can have a few of these items. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to use Shift plus the Option key, bring this down, and then use Command plus D just a few times in order to duplicate it. So I noticed that we're missing 2 pixels, so I'm just going to bring it up manually, and that would actually go ahead and solve the issue that we're having. Now, one other thing that you're going to notice is that these are frames. So in order to unframe this, simply use the right key, and you can actually unframe it from here, or you can use Shift plus Command plus F or G actually in order to unframe those. So let's go ahead over here. Let's bring these up like that, and let's make the $sign a little bit bigger, and let's use the same color. So in order to use this eyedropper tool, I simply use Control plus C, and that allows you to essentially pick colors in a very fast way. So we're going to go ahead over here. We're going to remove the circle by deep selecting using Command, and we're going to bring this Bitcoin icon directly here. Now it's time to change the different colors. So I'm going to select both this and this, or actually deep select by using Command and then Shift in order to select both these instances. And I'm going to make this one orange. I'm going to copy the same orange here, and let's do the same also for the dollars, which are going to be green. All right, so this is turning out quite nicely. I just want the green though a little bit more subtle, so I'm going to make it just a little bit more dark. And now we're going to leverage some other iconographies here, and the way that we're gonna do it is we're simply going to use the pound symbol right here, and let's double click on that. Let's make it bigger by using K, and as you can see, we can create the pound symbol in a very fast and efficient way. All right, I'm going to select this one as well. And this one is going to be lighter. So let's change the text on these. As you can see, this is already center aligned. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm going to left align all of these elements. So I'm going to select all of these, and let's write here $. You're going to write Bitcoin, and this last one we're going to leave it in a different format. So let's get rid of all of this. We're going to center it and click on view more. Let's bring it up just a bit, because below that we're actually going to go ahead and add a basic menu for this app. So as you can see, the entire project is taking place quite well. And let's write over here dashboard on nucleo icons. Let's bring it right here. And we're also going to use some of the analytics features maybe. Let's write analytics. And we're also going to add this icon. And we're going to add the settings icon on the very right. Okay, so far we're heading in the right direction. Now we're going to constrain the proportions in order to essentially make it easier to change the different proportions of these icons. And let's try and center it right here. And that will do. Now, since these are frames again, I don't want to use the frames, we're going to use Shift plus Command plus G. Let's bring it just one step more distance from each other. We're going to make these all quite light. And also let's increase the size of this one right here. And we're going to make it completely blue. All right, so far so good. And we're pretty much at the end of this tutorial. Now, in the second part, we're going to create the second screen. So stay tuned for much more in just a moment. All right, we're now back in Figma and we're going to continue and create the second screen. So let's go ahead, and the very first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to select the first frame, and with the Option key and also the Shift key selected, we're going to duplicate this screen by dragging with the left mouse button. Now, alternatively, you can simply select the first screen, use Command C and Command V in order to duplicate it. And now we're going to keep this top section as it is. We're going to create a ellipse, but we're going to keep pressed the Shift key in order to create a perfect circle. And let's bring it right here. All right, so far so good. Now let's go back into nucleo icons. And as we do that, we're going to actually go ahead and add a bell icon. So here we have nucleo icons again. Let's write in bell, and I'm going to select the very first one, which is going to be this one right here. Let's make it just a little bit bigger. I'm going to unframe it, and let's go ahead and let's make this bell icon of around this color right here, so kind of a orangish color. Let's duplicate also this and copy and paste it over here, and let's make the fill just 10% so that it doesn't grab as much attention. Now, as I'm relooking at it, probably want to make it lighter. So let's make it of a color around these lines in order to just make it a bit lighter on the eyes. All right, so far so good. Now let's go ahead, and the very next thing we're gonna do is we're going to duplicate this and we're going to essentially bring these elements, except for the very bottom section. We're going to bring them all to the right, and let's re-show the layout grids. All right, I'm going to write here watch list. Let's bring this one right here, and we're going to duplicate this element right here on the top. Now let's create a section which is going to be a rectangle, and let's add a stroke value which is going to be the same as this one right here. Let's make it white, and let's increase the border radius from just a bit. All right, so far so good. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to bring this one here, and we're going to write just below and copy the text as we have it here, and let's add a description. So here we go. And now that we have this description, we're going to bring in the graph again. We're going to make it way smaller. Bring it here. And let's also squeeze it in the height just a bit. Let's go ahead and let's duplicate these two values. Now let's make this text smaller, as well as this one right here. And let's write plus 5.2%. And at this point we're going to use a green color, and we're going to use the same green color for the actual value. Let's make this medium so it doesn't take as much visual emphasis as the other element. Alright, let's add a divider line. We're going to locate it more or less here. Let's make this gray, and let's go ahead and duplicate this here at the bottom. All right, let's increase the height just a bit, and now let's use the Bitcoin icon, and let's go ahead over here, use Bitcoin. Let's bring it down just a notch. Let's bring this one up again. Let's double click on this, and let's write BTC on this one. Let's invert the graph. Let's change it just a bit. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to make this more towards a red tint. So yeah, something around these lines would do. All right, so we have our two main graphs. And now let's go ahead and let's select this. Let's bring it down. We're going to add some different elements right here. So the very first one is going to be this one right here, which is going to contain a set value. And let's increase this value number. This one here. Let's change the height on this, and what we're gonna do is we're going to also add one of these guys, and let's try and see if it's matching the height. And let's also add a arrow which goes towards the top. So let's find an arrow which can work in the specific instance. And I think this one will do. We're going to deep select and just select this actual arrow. Let's go ahead over here. Let's bring it up. And let's make this one go here on the right. Also going to use some dots. And let's duplicate these. And let's bring it all the way over here. 50% opacity. And that will do. All right, now let's group all this together. Let's duplicate it just a few times. And let's also add the view more option. I'm going to give it a little bit of more padding on the top. And actually, let's change the color of these to a blue. And let's write here Yang. Here we're going to write Bitcoin. Let's change this to BTC. And let's change the values just to mix things up. Let's make this one go towards the top. Let's use the same color as we used previously. Let's change the values as well. And let's change the value of this one too. Right, let's delete this. And here we go. So really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, this course, and I'll see you in the next one.